Welcome to Kara's Cures, where we explore the cutting edge of wellness. I'm Kara Sundlin, and today's episode is sponsored by the Center for Advanced Reproductive Services in Farmington. So we're talking about easy health hacks to help with your gut health with a celebrity nutritionist who actually wants you to try something new in the morning. Maybe you've seen it. It's trending on TikTok. It's called an internal shower. I know that's a little bit of a weird name, but Dr. Daryl Gioffre is joining me now so that we can explain what all of that is and does it really work and what you want us to do. So welcome, Doc.
Hey, Kara, thanks so much for having me on. Nice to see you today.
Yeah, great to see you. I know it's been trending on TikTok, but explain to us, what is an internal shower?
So what an internal shower shot really is, it's a chia shot. What we're going to do is we're going to take 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, which, by the way, is an ancient superfood. In the Mayan language, the word chia means strength. So it really strengthens your energy and it strengthens your stamina. But what we now know is strengthens your gut. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, 6 ounces of water, because the water drives the chia into the gut where it does all the magic that we want it to do. We're going to take the juice of 1 lemon slice, and then we're going to take 1/8 teaspoon of Himalayan salt. Now, here's the most important part. You do not want to drink that right away. You want to let those chia seeds sit in that glass for a minimum of 5 minutes, because what happens is those chia seeds will start to soak up, and then you can drink that, and that's when all the fun's going to happen.
So is that because it's just the texture would be bad if you drank it right away? Or like sometimes I just throw chia seeds onto things and I eat them. Is that okay? Or it's more that, is it just not going to taste good if you did it too soon, or it doesn't work?
Yeah, no, chia is so versatile. You can use it in so many different foods, which I love about it. But specifically when you want to actually promote gut health, you want to soak it in water, because chia seeds are known as, it has something called a hydrophilic nature to it. And what that means is that when you combine it with the water, it can actually soak up to 27 times its weight. And that's what causes it to go into that thick gel-like structure. And what that does, it goes into all those little nooks and crannies of the gut. It's going to hydrate, it's going to lubricate, it's going to prevent any impactions down the road. And ultimately, it's going to result in softer and smoother bowel movements. Yes, we're talking about poop today. But that's really the benefit that it does. And it's very much akin to brushing your teeth. When we brush our teeth, it's removing that plaque on our teeth. So this is like a gentle scrubbing of our intestinal lining, and it's going to remove that plaque that's been built up, over the years inside of us. But again, it's not like something that you're going to rush to the bathroom. It's a very gentle detoxification, and it helps so many people. It's so cool to see this on TikTok. So many people being helped with constipation.
Well, I know it's a huge issue, and especially, some people really struggle with this, and, they might even be on medications or things like that. Bowel health is a big thing. IBS, all those, even if you have a more serious disorder, would it be okay to drink this and still do whatever your doctor's wanting you to do?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's so many benefits. Just when you look at the actual nutrients and all the different ingredients, they're all healthy for you, right? So there's really no downside to this. So it doesn't really make a difference if you have gut issues or your gut feels fine. This is something that you can do on a daily basis just to promote overall gut health, which is essential. I mean, 42 million Americans are suffering from gut health, from constipation. We need more fiber in our diets. But some people that I would say just err on the side of a little bit of caution would be someone that doesn't have a gallbladder, because a gallbladder is your organ that helps you digest fat. And what are chia seeds? It's a healthy plant-based keto fat. So I'm not saying you have to avoid it, but instead of maybe doing 2 tablespoons, let's start out with 1 teaspoon and just see how your body feels. Okay. Some people might be suffering with something called dysphagia. We have trouble swallowing. So I would err on the side of caution with that one, because the chia seeds can get a little stuck when there's actually swallowing in the throat. And then if you have something like diverticulitis or IBS, which is an inflammatory condition of the bowel, something, by the way, which I suffered with years ago, which you can have bloating and constipation and alternating bouts of constipation and diarrhea. So this is something that can actually help those things, but you have to see where you're at, because some people have more inflammation than others. So start gentle. You can always go up from there. I always like to err on the side of less is more.
Right, and we're talking about inflammation, which I know a lot of people are hearing about, but essentially that's the key to so many of our issues, and our gut is becoming, that a lot of people are reading, oh, your gut is your second brain, your gut health is so important. Yeah. Explain why doing this one simple thing could really affect so many different parts of your body and your health.
Yeah, Hippocrates said the best, look to the gut, it's the cause of all disease. And so many times inflammation in the gut is going to lead into inflammation in the body. So many downstream issues caused by leaky gut. So in addition to the fiber, which, by the way, it's not just good for gut health, fiber is also so important for your blood sugar. It helps balance out your blood sugar because it slows down how those sugars get metabolized in your body, and it prevents insulin from spiking. We all know that insulin is something that ages you. So this is going to help your longevity. And it's also going to help with fat loss because insulin is your fat storing hormone. But again, there's also omega-3 fatty acids. I mean, this is incredible. 2 tablespoons. Why do we choose that? 2 tablespoons has 10 grams of fiber, but also the same amount of omega-3 fatty acids that you find in a 4-ounce piece of salmon. And why is that important? Because omega-3 fats lower inflammation in your gut, in your body, and they promote brain health because they actually optimize the function of your brain. So this is why it's so powerful. We have to decrease inflammation. And then you have the lemon juice and the Himalayan salt. Those are loaded with minerals. And why are minerals important? Because minerals are going to neutralize the acidity, the acids, and the toxins in your gut. So it literally binds onto those toxins, and it's going to help escort those out of the body. So many powerful benefits to doing this on a regular basis.
So that's one of the things you do. And I know that you've consulted lots of people that we know, like Kelly Ripa or other celebrities, and you really advocate other tips to detoxify your gut. And you talk about an alkaline diet. Can you tell us what that means?
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at your food. And when you look at your food, they're either going to strengthen your body or they're going to stress your body. Foods that are alkalizing, they basically strengthen you from the inside out, all the way down to your cellular level. So I want people to start to think of things like green juices, green smoothies, green soups. Those are the core of what I've coined a strength eating diet. So these are something that I like to incorporate into my diet every day. Even my children who are 5 and 8 drink and eat these things. As far as getting more fiber in your diet, you want to have more foods like broccoli and butternut squash and kale and carrots and root vegetables. So it's not about like deprivation, Cara. We want to just start to add. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes so many people made. It's like, oh, I want to get on this healthy diet. I'm going to stop all this bad stuff. And, that might be good for a couple of weeks. But once that honeymoon phase is over, we go back to that stress eating diet. So just start to stack more of these foods in that strengthen your body. And over time, you're going to find that your sugar cravings are going to go down, your inflammation is going to go down, your gut health is going to improve, and so many other benefits you're going to get from that type of a lifestyle.
So many women, especially they hit, 40 or even a little older, but in those 40s and 50s, it's not working, right? They're gaining weight and they don't know why. And they're like, I'm eating healthy, I'm having a salad, I'm doing this. And you talk a lot about sugar cravings, about hormone balancing. This is one thing, the internal shower, but what else would you say for people who are just like, I don't know why I'm gaining weight, I've always been okay before?
I mean, let's get back to the basics. Number one, 90% of Americans are dehydrated. And I always say the solution to pollution is dilution. Think of a plant when it starts to get, wilting, it needs water, right? So let's just start to drink more water, but let's not make that water neutral. Let's make that water what I call acid kicking. So what I love to do is I take a scoop of my dehydrated green juice powder. It's called our acid kicking greens. And what that does, it alkalizes, it detoxifies your gut. And again, when those toxins leave the body, the fat that attaches to that toxin is going to be escorted out. So chlorophyll is one of the most powerful ways to not only strengthen our gut, but detoxify the gut. And one of the amazing benefits of that is weight loss. So drink more water. You want to hydrate. You want to get more greens. And also the greens are loaded with magnesium. And magnesium is another super important nutrient and mineral that the body needs to not only promote weight loss, but also help with those sugar cravings. Because when we eat more sugar, that's when we're going to add more fat to the body.
Yeah. So, and I know you have a website, getoffyouracid.com, which a part of it is, I guess, we're having too much acid in our diet. A lot of us are having acid reflux, especially as you get older. So everything we're talking about today would also help, I guess, reduce the acid. I know a lot of folks more in the natural camp want to make sure you get off those acid blocking medicines too.
Yeah, I mean, acid blocking medicines can cause so many, so much damage, and I understand why people go for it because reflux, over 50% of people in our country are dealing with reflux, but the cause of reflux is too little acid in the body, contrary to what we think in the stomach specifically. So we really have to get to the root cause of why our bodies are feeling these different sorts of symptoms, whether it's, reflux or, further down digestive issues. So let's get to that root cause. Let's fix the gut, because ultimately when our gut is out of balance, that's when the body starts to talk to us. So what we don't want to do is snip that wire to the fire alarm. And now maybe we don't feel the symptoms and the fire takes us out over time. We want to get down to that root cause, start to add more foods into our body that strengthen the body, take some supplements that's going to really address the underlying reasons why those symptoms came about in the first place, and also deal with the mindset. We gotta definitely start to manage stress better, because right now there's so much stress in all of our lives. Stress is managing most of us. And when we're stressed, what happens? The body becomes more acidic because there's nothing that creates more acid and inflammation in the body than stress. So eating all those things are critical. We got to get that down. But ultimately, how we deal with the stress is really top of mind.
So I know you've got some tips on your website. Again, getofyouracid.com. You've got some books that people could read more about this, and I'll let you tell me those too. But if people want to start small, because I know that some people might be listening like, wait, okay, so we can start with the internal shower. And if you're, just trying to get your health back, you're trying to lose fat and beat those sugar cravings. What's a good little daily regimen to start? I know you say lots of green vegetables. You can start with the internal shower. Does that mean like we don't have any sugar for a few days, or how do we get started?
No, one of my mantras is it's not deprivation, it's moderation. So what I want everybody to start to do is go with this add, not take away approach. And what you're going to find, which is how I get over my sugar addiction, is as you start to add more foods in that strengthen your body, the good's going to outweigh the bad. So I think let's just start with some simple swaps. If there's a food that you're eating in your diet that you love, like chocolate, right? Who doesn't love chocolate? Let's find a better version of that. So let's never have something like milk chocolate, because it's loaded with dairy, it's got lots of sugar, and obviously that's going to create a lot of inflammation in the body. So what's a better option? A better option would be 100% dark chocolate. But what's the best option? That would be something like cacao, because cacao is unrefined and it's loaded with minerals. So that's my whole philosophy. Let's find the foods that we're currently eating and let's start to make better swaps. And there's so many different things. So let's say fruit juice. So instead of having fruit juice, you can start to drink green juice. Instead of having pasta, right? I'm Italian, I love the pasta. Instead of that, you can swap that with something like zoodles or zucchini noodles, or something like a chickpea pasta. If you love chips, chips are very acidic to the body. Then you can have things like guacamole, hummus, and use some vegetable sticks. So you get that same sort of texture and crunch, but again, no downside. So that's really the approach that we want to have. And I think if everyone takes that approach and we don't be so hard on ourselves as far as timeline, you're going to notice that you're going to end up in a much, much better place. And it's going to last, because that's what this is. It's a lifestyle, not a diet, right? It's not about those first three letters in that word diet.
Yeah, well, and the internal shower, which I know is what's trending, right? You don't want to just do that and then go to McDonald's for lunch. So we're talking about like doing that as a healthy start, and then having the rest of it as well, because no simple drink is going to undo like just tons of other damage, right?
100%. I always say you can't supplement your way out of a bad diet. So these little hacks that I call are phenomenal. And it's amazing how many people it's actually helping. But we have to get to that foundation. And the foundation is really what's going to make this a lasting thing. So these hacks, I want everybody to do them on a daily basis. But again, it's that lifestyle. It's the diet. It's how we go about things on a daily basis. We have to make this something that we do on an ongoing basis over and over and over. And what happens is as you do that, you're going to notice some amazing, powerful benefits and changes that happen in your life.
Yeah, I did check out your website, getofyouracid.com, and I want to like tell people they can go there and look, because there were some interesting things about depending on what you're feeling and what supplements you want to add. Because I know some people say, oh, I don't have the money for this, or I don't have the time for this. You're talking about simple things, just like making these changes, and we're going to start to notice it different. I know people want to know, when will I feel better? How will I know it's working? Is there a timeline?
It's different for everybody. It's a great question, because we're all at different phases in our lives as far as, what's going on inside the body. So I think it's not best to judge it based on how we feel. I mean, I could have a cavity that hasn't turned into a toothache yet, and I think my teeth are fine. But no, we know there's something brewing in that body that we're not aware of. So I guess the best advice we can give is keep going, right? Think progress, not perfection. But I think the benefit of something like the chia shot is people are getting results right away. I mean, literally, they're drinking the shot and they're putting the timer on. They're waiting for the magic to happen, and they're noticing changes in their gut right away. But for some people, who have more impaction, because the average American literally has 10 to 15 pounds of impacted fecal matter in the gut. Not to be gross, but that's a fact. Wow. So for those people who are on more of the higher end, it might take a little bit more time. So I think the best advice we can give is keep going, keep adding, do this on a regular basis every single day. And at some point, you're going to notice that change. Do not give up 5 minutes before that miracle happens, because the miracle will happen as long as you're adding the right things into the body. The body strives for balance. We just got to help it out sometimes. Just
keep going. Just keep going. Now, a lot of people say if you're going to work on your gut, no gluten, no dairy. Some people say, oh, it depends. What's your take?
No, gluten and dairy are one of the worst culprits for your gut. They massively cause inflammation and leaky gut. I call these things WMDs, weapons of mass destruction, which is the wheat, too much meat, all right? Meat in moderation is okay, but too much meat causes it to turn to sugar in the body. The D is dairy, and the S is sugar. So what dairy does and what wheat and gluten does is when you consume it, it literally goes into the gut lining and punches holes in that gut. And that's something that we call leaky gut. You should have this tight junction in the gut that allows, when you eat foods like avocado and good healthy foods, it takes the nutrients in and gets the bad stuff out. But what happens with leaky gut is that becomes porous. Now, things that shouldn't get into our body, into the blood, eventually affecting the whole system, gets into the body. Things like undigested protein in food, mold and fungus and toxins and all different sorts of things. So we want to avoid those things. But listen, at the end of the day, let's not beat ourselves up. If you have a little wheat and gluten, it's not going to kill you. It's the ones that are doing it day in, day out. So we want to find better swaps. Again, going back to those swaps is so important for that. So instead of having something like milk, which is going to acidify the body, in fact, it's the #1 allergy in children. It causes so much mucus in your gut lining. What we're going to do instead of have something like an unsweetened almond milk or a coconut milk. So it's a much better option, and you can use it in all the same ingredients, which is really great.
So, what about if it's just lactose free? Because I know sometimes the pediatricians will say, well, you get the protein, you get all these other amino acids in dairy, just get lactose free. And I know these are two different schools of thought, but I want to hear your perspective, because, that is sometimes if you give a kid or even yourself, if you have a coconut yogurt, it doesn't have as much protein. And we're also told we need a lot of protein. So what's your thought on just lactose free?
Yeah, well, protein is important. Protein is an essential nutrient, but the average American is actually consuming 5 times the amount of protein that we should be getting. And what happens is when we consume too much protein, it actually, as I just mentioned, it turns to sugar in your body via something called gluconeogenesis, which happens in the liver. So we need to get the protein. It's so critical, but not too much. Now, lactose free is better because now you're taking out that lactose, which is sugar, that turns to something called lactic acid, which is obviously corrosive inside the body, but nonetheless, it's still dairy. It's still going to cause inflammation in the gut. And we have to look at this from a common sense standpoint. We're the only mammals that consume another mammal's breast milk after weaning, right? So cow's milk was designed for baby cows, not for humans. So again, a little bit here and there is not going to kill you, but it is going to cause inflammation in that gut. And ultimately, what is our main purpose? Our main purpose is to drive down that inflammation in the body so that we can actually live a healthy life. We all deserve it. It's our birthright. So ideally, let's get rid of that dairy once and for all. It's not really serving us in any ways. And even the research shows that it's not giving us the calcium that we once thought. Okay. We need to have equal parts of calcium and magnesium to be able to absorb that calcium. But dairy actually has 10 times the amount of calcium than it does magnesium. So most of that calcium is not even usable. We get more usable calcium in vegetables, things like bok choy and Chinese broccoli and other vegetables. So let's move more to that plant-based lifestyle. You're going to get everything that you need.
Okay. For gluten, if you want to swap, I know there's lots of gluten-free breads, but then sometimes the rest of it, you have to watch what you're putting in there because it's a little, it might have too much sugar and it might have too much this, or, can you just swap out and get a high quality like a Canyon Ranch or a Carbonate, or can you just get a gluten-free bread, or do you say, no, those aren't really much better either?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a valid point. I always say in my book, there's nothing free about gluten-free. And what they're doing is they're taking out one very in vogue trend, which is gluten-free. They take the gluten out, but now what happens? The food tastes like cardboard. So they put something else in to make up for that. And what is that ingredient? You said it, sugar, right? So it's like you're trading one acid for the other. So I think ultimately we have to become conscious label readers. It's very important. You got to turn that label over. Let's look at that. Let's look at that carbohydrate number. Let's look at that added sugar number. And when you see that number really going in the higher ranges, then we want to kind of be on alert for that. And there's other things that we can do in place of bread. Bread is something that really just is going to cause a lot of issues inside that gut. But yes, there are gluten-free breads, but as long as they're not really hiking up that sugar content, it's a much better option. But, we do things like if we're having sandwiches, we'll do more things like wraps. On Tuesday, we'll do Taco Tuesday. Instead of having like a gluten wrap, we'll get some butter lettuce or some romaine lettuce. We'll put in some diced avocado, some red onions, some salt, some pepper, some cumin, some hummus or some guacamole. You wrap that up in a lettuce wrap. My kids love this. I'm telling you, these will not stay on the table for more than 2 minutes. So there are much healthier ways to go about this without getting those acidic ingredients like gluten and other things like that into the body.
Okay. So you have some things on your website. I noticed some of it was stuff you add to coffee. A lot of us are maybe experimenting with intermittent fasting. And you talked about an easy way to make a green drink in the morning, or I noticed there's some things with coffee. If most of us have heard that if you are going to try intermittent fasting, it's okay to just have some black coffee in the morning. Is that a problem with acid?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge problem. And look, there's a lot of benefits, to coffee. There's a lot of upside to it. But the one huge downside, it's loaded with acid. And, acid, think about that from a common sense standpoint. Acid is so corrosive, it's going to literally eat you from the inside out. It's the number one cause of inflammation in the gut. So, it's not about ditching the coffee. Years ago, when Kelly Ripa, you mentioned, came to see me, it was so funny. She went on the show and she was talking about how this lifestyle changed her life and she's feeling so good and she feels it's responsible for not being in pain, but she's like, I'm still drinking my coffee and didn't tell him. So that's when kind of the light bulbs went off. It's like, you know what? I'm telling all these people don't drink coffee. 85% of Americans are going to drink coffee. We love our coffee. So let's not ditch the coffee. We got to make that next cup of coffee what we call acid kicking. So it took me 5 years. We created this powder that you add to the coffee, which neutralizes all the acid in the coffee. It's called acid kicking coffee. So now you get all that upside and benefits of the coffee, because again, there are benefits, but minus that one huge downside, which is acid. And 1 cup of coffee, by the way, increases the inflammation in your body by 54%. So it's so important that we kick that acid first thing in the morning, and that's going to set the tone for the day.
Okay. All right. Now, I like my coffee in the morning. Okay, so
you can still drink it, Kara. That's the good news. You can still drink it.
So if people are listening and they want a little help, and again, we're not advocating people go out and buy tons of stuff, but you do have some simple things. Most of us are maybe not having enough time, or we're just not chopping enough vegetables. So adding, like you make a green drink and you make some things to add to coffee. These are kind of simple things that if we made a big green thing in the morning and maybe did that chia seed thing, those would be small changes that you could do that might actually save you time and money overall.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. Even going back to the coffee, you can just take a little scoop of coconut oil and put that in the coffee. You can add a little Himalayan salt. So there's very cost-effective ways to really make that a better option for you. And that's the name of this game. It's like you don't have to spend tons of money. Let's make relationships with our local farmers market. I think that's a critical thing because, food prices have gone up. So every Saturday we go with our family, we go to the local farmers market, and, we buy fresh produce there. It's more cost effective. It's better quality. You can get organic ingredients at a much, lower cost by doing it that way, okay. As opposed to something in a grocery store that maybe came, 5,000 or 1,500 miles to get to you. So I think it's really important that we make these relationships, support our local farmers and farmers markets because they're working so hard. And at the end of the day, it's going to be much better on your wallet. So little simple things like that, I think, go a long way. And as long as we just kind of get a few of these things and just start with one, it doesn't have to be, all in 100%, though for you overachievers, that's okay. But just pick one thing. We gave a few different examples today. Start with one. Master that for 7 days, see how you feel. And I think that you're going to feel so good, you're not going to want to go back. And then you can add the next thing. And over time, that stacking effect is going to create a bigger geometric change in the body. And before you know it, it's like all of a sudden, you're going to be feeling good. You're like, wow, I feel great. And then you just keep on going with this lifestyle. That's what it is.
Okay. So let everyone know again, if you're watching on us on WFSB Plus, it's getoffyouracid.com. You can go follow Dr. Gioffre there. And just lastly, because if you've listened this long, I want people to know one more time, it's a simple recipe if you're going to try the internal shower tomorrow. So I think you said 6 ounces of water, 2 tablespoons of chia seed, lemon juice, and a sprinkle of Himalayan salt. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm impressed, Kara. Very good. Let it sit for 5 minutes and make sure, number one, we want to drink this on an empty stomach. And what that means, at least 30 minutes before a meal and at least 90 minutes after the food. So drink on an empty stomach, and I think you're going to all really love it.
Okay. Dr. Gioffre, thank you so much for being with us, and we appreciate all of the great tips.
Thank you so much, Kara. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And if you want to go back and see more content on the cutting edge of wellness, you can watch previous episodes of CURES Cures right here on WFSB Plus or listen on the CURES Cures podcast. You can follow me on social media at Kara Sundlin. I like to share this content there. Have a great day, everyone, and be well.